Today, we're going to break down a really high-stakes conflict, one that pitted one of the world's top AI companies against the full might of the U.S. government. It's a fascinating story about a line being drawn in the sand over the entire future of artificial intelligence.
And that stark warning? It came from hundreds of thousands of tech workers, right as this whole thing reached a boiling point. This was a genuine battle over ethics, over control, and really over who gets the final say on how this incredibly powerful technology gets used.
Now, this story starts in a place you might not expect. It doesn't begin with a fight, but with, well, an uneasy alliance. We're talking about a major partnership that was forged back in July of 2025, and it was all centered around a $200 million deal. So let's look at the key players here. On one side, you've got Anthropic, a big name in AI known for being super focused on safety. And on the other side, the Pentagon. The two of them signed a contract for up to $200 million, which would give the U.S. military access to Anthropic's powerful AI model, called Claude, for all sorts of classified operations.
But yeah, that uneasy alliance, it was about to completely fall apart. A line was drawn, a serious clash of principles, because the Pentagon started demanding way more control over the technology than Anthropic was ever willing to give.
And this, right here, this is the entire conflict boiled down to its absolute core. Anthropic had built in two really critical safety guardrails. First, a flat-out ban on using its AI for mass surveillance of civilians. Second, a ban on using it in autonomous weapons, the kind that can kill without a human ever giving the okay. The Pentagon's demand? Simple. They wanted total, unrestricted access for, and I quote, all legal purposes. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made the administration's position crystal clear. He basically said that the military, not some private tech company, was going to be the one to set the terms for how this technology is used, period.
And the Pentagon didn't just talk, they started turning up the heat. First, they threatened to just rip up the $200 million contract. Then, things got more serious. They talked about labeling Anthropic as supply chain risk, which can absolutely cripple a company. And finally, they brought out the big guns, threatening to use the Defense Production Act to literally force the company to comply.
So Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei, he publicly fired back, and he pointed out what he saw as this huge contradiction in the government's threats. I mean, think about it. How can your company be a security risk and, at the exact same time, be so essential to national security that the government has to force you to work with them?
Well, the back and forth had to end somewhere. And it did, when the Pentagon set a hard deadline. A ticking clock was officially in place, setting up this dramatic showdown with the entire tech world basically holding its breath.
As that deadline got closer and closer, the industry started taking sides. And Anthropic, well, they quickly found out they weren't going to be standing alone in this fight. A pretty surprising coalition started to form around them. And I'm not kidding when I say a coalition. We're talking about a massive group of labor unions representing over 700,000 tech workers from huge companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. They all decided to jump into the fray. They put out a formal letter, and it wasn't just to support Anthropic. It was a direct appeal to their own bosses. They warned about the dangerous precedent this could set, painting this picture of AI-powered drones and mass surveillance if the Pentagon got what it wanted. And then, support for Anthropic came from a place nobody saw coming. A place most people would have said was pretty much impossible. We're talking about their chief rival.
That's right, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, went public and sided with Anthropic. He confirmed that his company, their direct competitor, had the exact same red lines when it came to military use of AI. So all of a sudden, this wasn't just Anthropic versus the Pentagon. It was the two biggest AI labs in the world standing together on this.
So, with the tech industry's biggest players and its workers now basically united, that 5:01 p.m. deadline, it came and went. And then the White House itself responded directly.
And yeah, the dispute went all the way to the top. President Trump himself weighed in with this, fiery, all-caps post on his Truth Social platform, accusing the company of trying to strong-arm the military.
And that social media post wasn't just talk. It was immediately followed by an official government directive. This wasn't just about the Pentagon anymore. The order kicked off a government-wide ban on all of Anthropic's technology, telling every federal agency to stop using their products within 6 months.
So what happened next? Well, the fallout from the president's decision was fast, and it was severe. It set a completely new precedent for the relationship between Silicon Valley and Washington.
In a really sharp post on X, Secretary Hegseth announced the Pentagon's final move. He framed Anthropic's position not as an ethical stand, but as a masterclass in arrogance and betrayal, and made it clear that the government's decision was final.
And this slide really shows you the final consequence. Anthropic was formally designated a supply chain risk. Now, this isn't just some bureaucratic label, it's a really powerful tool designed to isolate a company. It basically tells the entire defense industry if you want to do business with the US military, you cannot also do business with Anthropic.
So, the standoff itself might be over, but it leaves us with this fundamental, unanswered question just hanging in the air. When technology gets this powerful, who really gets to draw the line? Is it the people who create the code, or the governments that use it? This case didn't just end a contract, it really set a precedent. And the aftershocks are probably going to define the relationship between Silicon Valley and global powers for a long, long time to come.